I grew up in a very maximalist environment. You can't think straight, you can't find things, and it's just stressful. Hello there, and welcome to Veggie Magnifique, your go-to for holistic wellness and healthy vegan lifestyle. I'm Anne, health coach, entrepreneur, performer, minimalist, and matcha lover, and this is my plant, Figgy, and I need help. So if you guys know how to get rid of these little brown spots on a fiddly fig, please leave me a comment below. So I'm so excited because today is the first video in a series that I've been preparing for you guys for a very long time called Matcha and Minimalism, where we have a delicious cup of matcha and talk all things minimalism. If you've been following Veggie Magnifique for a long time, you know I'm a big fan of minimalism and a true believer in less is more, whether that's doing capsule wardrobes, reducing clutter and hence brain fog, or just being a mindful human about what you buy and what you surround yourself with. So first off, really quick, what is minimalism? According to the Minimalist, Joshua and Ryan, who basically wrote the book, in fact they did, on minimalism, minimalism is a tool to rid yourself of life's excess in favor of focusing on what's important, so you can find happiness, fulfillment, and freedom. Yeah. So essentially, minimalists seek happiness not through things, but through life itself. And that's really something I can get behind. So really quick, we need to talk about the fact that minimalism can look very different person to person. So this is not a case of playing the minimalism comparisitis game. There's a lot of different ways to be minimalist. Also, I'm not necessarily talking about minimalism in the neutral or monochromatic aesthetic sense that we apply to, say, decor or clothing or even music. So for example, I don't only own neutral clothing and I don't listen to Philip Glass or have like one chair in a blank room a la Fumio Sasaki. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that kind of minimalism at all. That's just not the subset that I'm talking about today. I love to have a splash of color. I have furniture. I just have less, and I try to be mindful about what I own, if that makes sense. And furthermore, I'm actually not saying that I'm the most minimalist person ever. My husband has like under 50 worldly possessions, so he jokes around that I'm a maximalist. He's a kidder. But again, being a minimalist looks different for everyone. There are just principles that we adhere to. So really quick, what a minimalist is not. Being a minimalist is not depriving yourself of what brings you joy, throwing out your favorite clothing, or sitting on the floor of a barren living room. So just in case you were worried that you have to get rid of everything to be a minimalist, you don't. Unless that made sense for you, which it really doesn't for most people. So a little story time. How did I become a minimalist? Well, I grew up in a very maximalist environment. You can't think straight, you can't find things, it's just very stressful. My parents had and have way too much stuff, and I never really fathomed that life could be any other way. And I had all the classic symptoms of having too much. Okay, the I have nothing to wear conundrum, lacking focus, losing things all the time, and being too focused on things. And it's a real thing. It's a real burdensome thing. If you've watched even just one episode of Marie Kondo, her series on Netflix, you know how burdensome stuff and, copious amounts of things can really be on you in your life. So I would say one of the biggest initial factors with regard to my veer toward minimalism has been moving internationally. So I have moved internationally a few times in my life, and it's been so helpful, really, in my minimalism journey, because you just can't take it with you if you're traveling with a suitcase or suitcases. Unless you're hiring like a container and you're doing the whole move furniture and things, which I wasn't. I sold everything all the times, well, most things, I sold most things when I moved internationally or I gave them away. I really pared them down. And again, you can't take everything when you move internationally, so you really have to think about what really matters to you. So I've read and reread The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo, obviously so many times, and also Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki, which he advocates for like getting rid of absolutely everything, which is interesting. I really recommend you read this book. It's powerful, it's profound, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get rid of absolutely everything. You know, eat the watermelon and spit out the seeds, so to speak. And another book that I will recommend on this whole quest of striving to be more minimal is Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui by Karen Kingston. This is probably the first book I read on this subject. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Highly recommend this book because basically it explains why we keep things. Like, what are some of the psychological reasons why we choose to surround ourselves with too much? It's super deep. And honestly, it's one of my favorite books of all time. I gave it to my mom, I think, so I need to find another copy so I can reread it, because it's one of those things that you want to remind yourself of so that you don't end up going back to old habits, right? I come from a family where they keep things and they're very nostalgic and very sentimental, and I am too, just kind of like in remission. So I need to like make sure that I'm continuing to study on my quest to just have the essential and what I love and what I use, right? Don't have anything that you don't know to be useful or beautiful or something like that. So another factor in my minimalism journey has been living in an itty-bitty living space in Paris. For so many years in Paris, actually. So I really had to kind of readapt. I literally could not comfortably own a lot of stuff, you know, lest I not be able to move about my apartment because it was quite small. And so if I had a lot of things, it just, you know, I would have been living in some sort of like closet, which wouldn't have been enjoyable. So that taught me a lot. You know, what do you actually need? So now my husband and I have a bit more space, which is amazing, but we're choosing to be mindful about how we furnish it and what we allow into the house. So in a nutshell, here's why I love minimalism and why I wanted to do a whole series on it. Minimalism is making space for more of what you love. It's making space for peace of mind and zen and being comfortable, not being crowded. It's about getting to know yourself and what you love so that you can live surrounded by exactly what you need and what you love without feeling bogged down or cluttered mentally or physically. So let's have a cup of matcha, shall we? And one thing I'll say is, once I started to pare down my things, I started to realize more and more what actually brought me joy and pleasure and what didn't. So now I don't have 65 different teas that I don't drink crowding up my cupboard. I only have a few select, delicious green teas and matchas that I drink on a daily basis and that I truly love. So with that, let's talk about today's featured matcha for the first episode of Matcha and Minimalism. Today's matcha is Yuji Premium Organic from Sunday Natural, of course, my favorite. If you're new to drinking real matcha and not the stuff you get at random cafes that's kind of brownish in color, then this Yuji Premium is a wonderful kind of entry-level matcha initiation that is perfect for your first forays into the joys of this Zenergy divine powder drink. Remember, with matcha, you're drinking the actual leaf because it's been ground into a powder. So there are even more benefits than, say, drinking a normal green tea. And the Yuji Premium has a sort of creamy, non-bitter flavor that pairs delectably well with oat milk, if you want my opinion. And if you're interested in experiencing this beautiful beverage, I have a link in the bio so that you can check out more about this delightful matcha. So tea is super important to me, which is why I've made room for it in my life and cupboards. It brings me immeasurable joy, and I have more space for it because I've decluttered the extraneous. I invite you to think about what you really love and what you'd like to make more space for in your life by minimalizing the din and the clutter of too much stuff. And I'd love it if you let me know what you'd like more of in your life in the comments below so we can have a conversation. So let's end this video with a reminder. The central goal of minimalism is ridding your life of excess in favor of focusing on what's actually important so that you can find happiness, fulfillment, and freedom. And I think we all want more of those. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm so delighted that you're here to join me for a delicious cup of matcha and a chat about minimalism. If you enjoyed this video and videos of this kind, it would mean a lot if you would let me know in the comments below and like. If you want more Veggie Magnifiqueness, definitely subscribe. And here's to more space and more of what you love. Like matcha. And I will see you guys next time on Veggie Magnifique TV. Bye! I couldn't drink much of it because I wanted it to be like a prop on camera. So now I get to drink it.